Imagine waking up every morning with a vague sense of great potential hidden within, yet an insurmountable barrier prevents you from moving forward. It's easy to succumb to the temptation of labeling yourself as lazy, unmotivated, or even a failure. However, what if the root of the problem lies not in a lack of diligence, but in a deep disconnect from something more important? In this exploration, we delve into the essence of this feeling, aiming to show that apparent laziness is often a symptom of a deeper issue, a loss of purpose, direction, and meaning in life. By the end of this analysis, you will gain valuable insights to help you redefine yourself, rediscover your passions, and reignite your inner fire. The realization that will be presented in conclusion may radically change your perception of life. Let us embark on a journey into the depths of human experience, where philosophy, psychology, and timeless wisdom converge to illuminate the path forward. Together, we will uncover truths that inspire, educate, and empower, providing tools to overcome life's challenges and find clarity in moments of doubt. When you call yourself lazy, what do you really mean? In modern society, there is often a tendency to equate busyness with value and productivity with significance. If you are not constantly achieving something tangible, society can make you feel like a failure or a laggard. But is this a fair assessment of your worth as an individual? The renowned psychoanalyst Carl Jung once observed that clarity in understanding life comes only when a person turns their gaze inward. He argued that those who seek answers in the external world are merely dreaming, while self-knowledge leads to awakening. This profound thought reveals the essence of the problem of disorientation, which often arises when people overemphasize external attributes of success and recognition, ignoring their inner voice that guides them to true self-fulfillment. The feeling of stagnation or being stuck is not always a result of a lack of diligence or self-discipline. Often, it stems from an internal dissonance when a person feels out of place. The mind and body resist actions that lack meaning or do not align with the person's true essence. Recalling moments of genuine inspiration from a project, dream, or even a simple idea, it's hard to imagine yourself being lazy during such times. Motivation arises naturally when a person is connected to something that holds deep meaning for them. What may be perceived as laziness may actually be a signal, an internal message about a loss of connection with one's true purpose. Abraham Maslow, the eminent psychologist who created the famous hierarchy of needs, saw self-actualization as the highest stage of personal development. It is a state where a person fully realizes their potential and finds deep meaning in existence. However, the path to this summit is strewn with moments of doubt and uncertainty, and it's important to understand that feeling lost or unmotivated is not a failure but a signal of impending change. These are moments when old beliefs and patterns of behavior lose their relevance, and new ones have not yet formed. These transitional periods, though fraught with discomfort, possess tremendous transformative potential. It is worth pausing and asking yourself, what am I running from? What dreams and desires have I buried, deeming them too difficult, unrealistic, or vague? At times, we prefer to label ourselves as lazy just to avoid facing the fear of failure or the need to step out of our comfort zone. But it is in these buried dreams that the key to finding a new meaning in life and lost passion may lie. The Danish thinker Søren Kierkegaard likened the feeling of being lost to wandering across vast and unknown expanses. At first, everything around seems like a confusing labyrinth, and it is extremely difficult to determine which direction to move. However, if you stop, look around carefully, and immerse yourself in reflection, barely noticeable landmarks begin to appear. Features of the terrain, the trajectory of the sun, or the murmur of water indicating the way forward. Similarly, when a person feels confused in life's circumstances, The answers often lie in those moments of silence that they subconsciously avoid. In today's world, permeated with all sorts of communications, silence and stillness may seem alien and unnatural. People fill their days with noise, distractions, and an endless stream of tasks just to avoid being alone with themselves. But therein lies the paradox. It is in such moments of solitude that the picture of what is happening begins to become clear. When you manage to silence the external noise and turn your gaze inward, you begin to hear the quiet voice of your inner self, the one who knows what is truly important to you. Perhaps the feeling of being lost isn't due to failure, but rather a call to something greater. It's quite possible that this moment of alienation is the way our mind and soul are urging us to rethink our lives. This isn't a failure, but rather an invitation, a unique opportunity to align ourselves with a deeper and more authentic version of ourselves. Throughout human history, many outstanding minds and brilliant creators have faced periods of emotional turmoil and feelings of being lost. Take, for example, Leonardo da Vinci, who could spend days or even weeks seemingly doing nothing, simply observing the world around him, making quick sketches, or engaging in deep contemplation. To an outside observer, it might have seemed like he was wasting precious time. However, it was during these moments of peace and apparent idleness that his unique creative genius matured, leading to the revolutionary discoveries and breakthroughs that later changed the world. In this regard, it's worth asking, what if we view a period of stagnation not as an annoying failure, but as a necessary stage of personal growth and self-discovery? What if this time is given to stop in the mad race, deeply reflect on our lives, and rediscover what truly matters to us? Let's try to understand the reasons for this loss of connection with ourselves. Why do so many people in the modern world experience feelings of being lost and emotional discord? The answer lies in the model of life that has been imposed on us since childhood. From a young age, we are offered a ready-made plan for achieving success. Study hard, get a prestigious and stable job, earn a lot of money, acquire your own home, and secure a comfortable old age. And while these stages may create the appearance of structure and certainty, they don't address the main question: what actually fills life with meaning? Viktor Frankl, an outstanding psychiatrist and a man who went through the horrors of the Holocaust, in his work Man's Search for Meaning, emphasized a profound truth. It's not the circumstances that make life unbearable, but the lack of meaning and purpose. His words serve as a powerful reminder that even in the most favorable conditions, without a sense of inner purpose, existence can seem empty and meaningless. At the same time, a life filled with deep meaning is able to sustain a person in the most incredible trials. If an individual feels lost and disoriented, the reason may lie in the fact that the life plan offered to them has ceased to correspond to their inner aspirations. Perhaps, having reached certain social heights and milestones, they still experience feelings of dissatisfaction and emptiness. Or, having faced difficulties on the way to these achievements, they may have absorbed the idea of their own inadequacy. In any case, the root of the problem isn't laziness or a lack of diligence, but a discrepancy between their actions and deep-seated values. In such moments, it's extremely important to stop and ask yourself, what are my true values? Not those that society or the environment imposes, but those that are truly important and meaningful to me. This may be a need for creativity, a desire for deep connections with other people, a desire to constantly grow and develop, or a need to contribute to the common good. Unfortunately, many people don't find the time to define their key values, which are the foundation for a meaningful life. Without them, it's easy to lose your bearings and feel like you're wandering through life without a compass, not knowing where to go or why. From a psychological point of view, the feeling of being lost is often rooted in what scientists call existential frustration, a deep sense of dissatisfaction that arises when our actions diverge from our fundamental need for meaning and purpose. This frustration isn't a vice, but rather an important signal, an inner voice calling for a reassessment of one's life path and a revision of priorities. How do you start this process of getting back on your path? The first step, paradoxically, is to accept the current state. Fighting the feeling of being lost only intensifies the feeling of despair. Instead, it's necessary to recognize and accept this state as a temporary phase, a natural part of the human experience. Even the most outstanding personalities have faced moments of uncertainty and doubt. The difference between those who find their way lies in their willingness to meet these feelings with curiosity rather than with condemnation. Imagine your life as a vast, unexplored ocean. At the moment, you may feel like you are drifting without visible landmarks. However, just as sailors navigate by the stars, everyone has internal navigation tools, intuition, passions, and values. The task is to trust these tools, even when the horizon seems foggy. In the quest for harmony within oneself, one of the most effective methods is keeping a personal journal. Provide your thoughts with a haven on paper, recording fears and innermost dreams without a hint of self-judgment. Let your subconscious freely pour out its revelations. Over time, like an experienced cartographer, you will discover patterns that point to the true values and aspirations of your heart. Equally significant is the practice of mindfulness. Dedicate time to silence, immersing yourself in meditation, or simply enjoying solitude with your reflections. These moments of introspection can reveal ideas that, in the hustle and bustle of everyday life, remain buried beneath a layer of daily noise. An important step on the path to oneself is breaking free from the shackles of external comparisons. Social media and modern culture constantly bombard us with carefully retouched images of other people's triumphs. It is easy to succumb to the illusion that everyone around is succeeding while you are struggling with difficulties. However, it should be remembered that these glossy pictures are only a small part of someone else's story. Every person, regardless of apparent success, experiences moments of uncertainty and doubt. Reflecting on these concepts, ask yourself, what would happen if you stopped measuring your life by other people's standards and focused on your unique path? What if those very qualities that you consider weaknesses or failures are actually hidden strengths waiting for their moment? Reflecting on the changing seasons, one can draw an analogy to human life. Like natural cycles, including periods of flowering, fruiting, fading, and renewal, human existence is also subject to these patterns. A feeling of being lost may indicate that a person is experiencing a period of decline or lull, when former habits and self-perceptions gradually die off, preparing the ground for something new. It is important to understand that this period should not be rushed or avoided. On the contrary, it is a time for carefully listening to oneself, healing, and preparing for further growth. Ancient Greek philosophy introduces the concept of kairos, denoting the most appropriate or favorable moment for action. Unlike chronological time, kairos represents time filled with harmony and meaning. When a person feels confused, it may not be the best time for drastic changes. Rather, it is a period for accumulating knowledge, developing the inner world, and waiting for the right opportunity. To reconnect with one's purpose and overcome feelings of being lost, specific steps can be taken. These actions will help create a kind of roadmap that will lead a person back to themselves, allowing them to rediscover the motivation and direction in life they are striving for. It is important to remember that the deepest insights capable of radically changing one's worldview are still ahead. Awareness of one's current position and understanding of the reasons for feeling lost opens the way for further progress. It is important to emphasize that this is not about forced change or creating a false image, but about identifying small but significant steps that can bring a person back to themselves. One of the first and most effective actions is reconnecting with one's passions. It is necessary to ask oneself questions. What brings true joy? What activities absorb all attention, making one forget about time? It is these activities that can ignite the inner fire, reminding one of their own essence, regardless of society's imposed expectations. It is worth noting that passion does not always manifest itself brightly and on a large scale. It can be quiet and inconspicuous, like the satisfaction of solving a complex puzzle, a passion for gardening, or the delight of learning something new and unexplored. The main thing is to start small. Returning to one's passions does not require drastic changes, but consists of creating moments of unity with what gives a feeling of life and fullness of being. This idea smoothly leads to the concept of flow, brilliantly developed by psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. Flow is a unique state of absolute focus on the current activity, when the flow of time seems to stop and a person is completely immersed in the present moment. Discovering an activity capable of immersing oneself in this state can be a powerful tool in the fight against feeling lost. Such moments serve as a vivid reminder that life is more than just external achievements. It is a rich experience of complete involvement. Another important step on the path to oneself is rethinking one's own goals. When a feeling of being lost overwhelms a person, there is a temptation to succumb to aimlessness, avoiding long-term planning, which seems an impossible task. However, it is worth remembering that goals do not have to be immutable or perfect. They are just guidelines that give a sense of direction. It's recommended to start by defining one small but significant goal that can be achieved within the next week or month. This could be reading an engaging book, taking up a new hobby, or connecting with someone who inspires you. These modest victories create positive momentum, demonstrating that progress is possible even when the path ahead seems unclear. As you embark on new endeavors and set new horizons for yourself, don't forget the importance of self-compassion. People often tend to be their own harshest critics, setting unrealistic expectations and severely judging themselves for the slightest missteps. However, it's worth considering the wise words of Buddhist teacher Thich Nhat Hanh, who said that true self-love begins with a deep understanding of oneself. Self-compassion is not about excusing your actions, but about recognizing that everyone is prone to mistakes and imperfections, that difficulties and challenges are a natural part of personal growth, and that everyone deserves kind treatment, no less than anyone else. Think about how your life would change if you treated yourself with the same level of understanding and support that you usually offer to close friends. What if you viewed moments of confusion and uncertainty not as frustrating failures, but as valuable opportunities for learning and further development? Another transformative practice is gratitude. During periods when you feel lost and disoriented, there's a natural tendency to focus solely on the shortcomings and problems that cloud your life. Gratitude, on the other hand, allows you to shift your perspective and see the beauty and abundance that already exist in your life. It's recommended to make it a habit to express gratitude daily, for example, by writing down 3 things you're grateful for each day. Over time, this practice helps to rewire your thinking, helping you notice positive moments, strengthening your resilience to life's adversities, and enhancing your sense of connection to the world around you. Interaction with others plays a defining role in the process of self-discovery. Isolation from society can exacerbate feelings of confusion and cloud your perspective. During such moments, loved ones, friends, family, and wise mentors can provide invaluable support, instilling faith in your own abilities. Open dialogue, the opportunity to share your experiences and doubts, can be a revelation, as it often turns out that many have faced similar challenges. Realizing that you're not alone in your search can give you strength and inspire further steps. Don't underestimate the influence of fear, which can often become a serious obstacle on the path to finding new meaning in life. Fear of failure, criticism, or change can paralyze your will and force you to cling to familiar but no longer fulfilling patterns of behavior. However, fear shouldn't be seen as an enemy. It's a natural reaction to stepping outside of your comfort zone, a signal that you're on the verge of personal growth. Instead of avoiding fear, face it. Analyze the possible negative and positive consequences. Often the reward for overcoming fear far outweighs the potential risks. As you move forward on your life's journey, keep in mind the concept of the seasons discussed earlier. In moments of confusion, you may be experiencing a winter season, a period of calm and deep self-reflection. However, winter is not the final point, but rather a stage of preparation, a necessary phase before the coming spring revival. It's important to believe that this period will pass, and with its completion, you'll become stronger, wiser, and more in harmony with your true self. As an example, consider the story of J.K. Rowling, who faced tremendous difficulties on her path to success with the Harry Potter book series. She was in a desperate situation, an unemployed single mother struggling to provide for herself and her child when she began working on the story that would later change her life. In her own words, "Rock bottom became the solid foundation on which I rebuilt my life." Each person's individual path may differ, but the basic principle remains the same. Feeling lost is not the end of the road, but an opportunity for restructuring, rediscovering yourself, and reorienting. In the following narrative, the last and most powerful realization will be revealed, which can fundamentally change a person's perception of themselves and their place in this world. As we approach the culmination of this journey, it's time to face the truth about what it means to be lost. This revelation can change everything. Being lost is not a punishment, but a valuable gift. This state allows a person to rethink their personality, values, and perspectives. Although it may not be obvious now, a state of lostness is often a harbinger of profound change. Take, for example, the metaphor of the forest. When you find yourself in a dense thicket where the way forward is unclear, it is easy to give in to despondency. However, this very forest holds inexhaustible opportunities, unexplored paths, secluded glades bathed in light, and a dynamic ecosystem full of life and growth. Wandering through the forest, a person is forced to stop, carefully examine the surroundings, and awaken their instincts. Similarly, a feeling of being lost in life prompts a reassessment of one's inner compass. One of the most effective ways to overcome this state is to cultivate curiosity. When faced with a dead end, instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" it is better to ask yourself, "What lessons can I learn from this experience?" Curiosity transforms difficulties into potential opportunities, presenting obstacles as a springboard for personal growth. Let's turn again to the concept of purpose, around which there are many misconceptions. It is commonly believed that purpose is something monumental and difficult to achieve, some all-encompassing mission that determines the course of one's entire life. However, what if we rethink this idea and imagine purpose not as a final destination, but as a continuous process, as a skill that is honed through daily, conscious effort? Viktor Frankl, a renowned psychologist, emphasized that purpose is not something we discover by chance, but rather something we actively create by defining our response to the challenges and circumstances of life. It is suggested to start by taking a close look at your daily routine. What specific actions, even the most insignificant, bring a sense of satisfaction and joy? Perhaps it is helping a friend, mastering a new skill, or even simply taking care of your own well-being. At first glance, these moments may seem insignificant, but together they form a solid foundation for a meaningful life. By focusing on these small but purposeful actions, a person gradually regains a sense of direction and confidence in their abilities, step by step moving closer to a more fulfilling life. Another revolutionary idea is to view life as a series of experiments. In moments of uncertainty and confusion, it is natural to fear making the wrong decision. But what if we abandon the concept of wrong decisions and perceive each choice as an opportunity for learning and growth? Adopting an experimental approach allows you to boldly try new things without feeling the pressure of needing to be perfect. Whether it's exploring a new profession, launching a creative project, or stepping outside your comfort zone in some other way, consider it a chance to gain valuable insights into what truly resonates with your soul and aligns with your inner values. It's time to turn to the final and perhaps most inspiring discovery. You are not as lost as you think. Deep within your being, all the necessary answers are already stored. Perhaps they are hidden beneath a thick layer of fears, doubts, or socially imposed expectations, but they have not disappeared, patiently waiting for the moment when they will be discovered. This realization is both liberating and challenging because it returns responsibility for one's life. It calls for trusting yourself, listening to the voice of intuition, and acting even when the way forward seems hazy and uncertain. It is worth considering that every great achievement begins with a single step, often taken in complete uncertainty. The explorers who mapped uncharted lands, the innovators who created something completely new, and ordinary people who overcame incredible difficulties began their journey without knowing how it would end. What united them all was a desire to move forward, to embrace the unknown with courage and curiosity. Reflecting on this journey, it is worth remembering the words of the poet Mary Oliver. Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? This question is a call to take responsibility for your story. No one can live it for you, and no one else's idea of success or happiness will replace your own. To rediscover yourself, you need to take a series of consistent steps. Perhaps it is worth starting with a period of contemplative stillness, allowing clarity to emerge from within. It is important to reconnect with your deepest passions, fundamental values, and intuitive understanding of the world. Alternatively, you can choose the path of bold action, with the belief that the way forward will become clear as you move forward. It's worth remembering that feeling lost is not the final destination, but rather a launchpad for something fundamentally new, a chance to rethink your life based on your own ideas and desires. It is important to realize that temporary difficulties do not make a person lazy, unmotivated, or a failure. Rather, it shows that they are an individual overcoming the complexities of existence with courage and steadfastness. You should believe that the current period is shaping you in a unique way, even if this is not yet fully understood. Clarity, purposefulness, and self-realization are quite achievable. This is a personal journey, and it begins right